This one went right down to the wire. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Munster started this one on the front foot right from the off. Some good hands and running lines sees half breaks from Nash and Crowley, get them just short of the line. They then go to the forwards with some pick and goes, but when they go out to the backs again, they knock it on, and felt like maybe a little bit more patience and they would have got a better outcome from that one. Schoeman then turns the ball over. I thought he had an excellent game for Edinburgh. That guy, anytime I've seen him in especially the last couple of years, he has been outstanding. Again, he was tonight. But he gets a turnover. Then Bennett boots it downfield. Van der Merwe is leading the chase, but then Haley covers well and just smashes the ball dead. Edinburgh then win a penalty for not rolling as they attack off the back of the scrum that came from off that. Healy opens the scoring from the tees, 3-0 to Edinburgh. A little bit against the run of play, but then Edinburgh start to take control. So they get some good change out of the boot, a couple of contestable kicks. One, Richie slaps back on their side, then he wins another one cleanly. Third one leads to a Crowley knock on, and they've got a scrum in a great attacking position. They win a penalty at the scrum. Healy doubles their lead to 6-0. Really good hands from Munster. They move the ball quickly, get it to Coombs out wide, but then James Lang puts in an absolutely brilliant hit on him, bounces him into touch. Just great defence there from Edinburgh, because Coombs from not too far out with a bit of a head of steam up, felt like he would have potentially got over or maybe stepped inside, but just an amazing hit there to prevent a try and also to turn the ball over as well. Munster, they keep pressing. Nankivell with a lovely missed pass gets it out to Frisch on the right wing. He chips the ball over, wins the race to the ball, avoids one tackle, and then rides the tackle of Van der Merwe to score in the corner. And this guy, he's going to be a big miss for Munster when he leaves, and I think for Ireland as well. I know people say, well, look at Ireland's centre stocks, but he's still a player that I felt that could have been brought in to the Ireland setup maybe a little bit earlier. Maybe last season obviously had the World Cup and stuff, so it's a little bit more difficult with that. But it does feel like a player that you'd rather have him available, even if he's not getting picked all that much for Ireland. You'd rather have him there as someone who could develop in that role, but it's not going to be, and maybe he's going to shine for France. But at the same time, you got to point at the centres that play for Ireland as well and say, well, who are you going to leave out? Like you've got the likes of Ringrose. You got Aki, who's been probably Ireland's best player over the last year. Got Henshaw in there, and you got McCluskey as well. Like, all brilliant players. Then you have other players coming through as well. So it's a difficult one, but I certainly would have liked to have seen maybe a bit more of an effort to keep him here. But you don't know what's going on in players' heads. Like, and for him, he feels like it's the best thing for him to leave, and I wish him the best of luck. But in this game, he was sensation, especially in that first half. Crowley then misses the touchline conversion, and it's 6 points to 5. Edinburgh, they apply pressure on the edge of the 22. Munster playing the 9, and it's another kickable penalty. Healy pops on over for 9-5. Haley then goes off on very wobbly legs. Rory Scannell comes on for him. I think initially it's an HIA for Haley, but there's no way he's coming back on. Edinburgh turn the ball over out wide. First of all, like, O'Donoghue actually showed some great work, some really nice footwork, and got himself out of trouble. But then there's a big hit goes in from Mata, and talk about players who are going to be missed. Like, this is last season for Edinburgh, and this guy, every time I watch him, I really enjoy, seeing him play, because his impact, both sides of the ball, are amazing. But he puts in a big hit, and there's poor ball security from Munster, and it gets turned over. Edinburgh go wide. Munster actually look like they've maybe snuffed out the danger, but then there's a loose ball that gets hacked through. It pings off a bunch of players, and then breaks for Bennett to basically flop on it on the line and score. Healy converts for 16-5. Edinburgh then, it feels like it's a decent lead at this stage in a game that has been fairly tight, and they overthrow a line out on the edge of their own 22. That was after a quality kick from Rory Scannell, almost a 50-22, but the fact that Edinburgh overthrow the lineup means that it pretty much ended up being a 50-22 in terms of the result for them. Lineout lands in the breadbasket of Lockman, who he carries it well. I thought he did really well in the carry tonight. In the second half, I thought that Edinburgh, though, at times kind of drove back a little bit. But in that first half, with fresh legs, he was making meters after contact almost all the time. Jaeger then with another strong carry to within 5 meters, but then Mata gets in there again, manages to strip the ball, but he actually strips it on the Munster side, and Casey then overcomplicates things. He was basically looking for the ball out the back that wasn't on when they were close to the line, and Edinburgh get the ball. They clear it, but Munster come right back, and it's just relentless pressure on the Edinburgh line at this stage. Munster then tap a penalty that they won from a 5-meter scrum. The big boys have a go, but seem to be a little off in terms of, there was some kind of set move going there, and it just felt like maybe the timing of the run-on lines were slightly off, because they didn't really make much impact on it. And you got to give credit to the Edinburgh defence there as well, to making sure that they couldn't execute it the way that they wanted to. They then move back the other way. Coombs with a nice flick pass, and then I can't remember, it might have been Casey, I don't know who, but somebody then gives it to Frisch, and he comes on a lovely line and gets over for a second try. It's converted for 16 points to 12. Then there's a little bit of a rally from Edinburgh just before the break. Van der Merwe looking dangerous, but there's no more scores before the halftime break, so it's 16-12 at halftime. Munster though strikes shortly after the restart. They attack off a scrum in the 22. You have a nice wrap around. Crowley, he comes onto the ball. Edinburgh, 2 defenders bit on the initial ball carrier, and that just opened up the space then for him to waltz through. He converts his own try. 19-16, and Munster have hit the front. Munster then come forward again, looking threatening, with Orgy Snyman having great impact from the bench, but then after a few more phases, Hamish Watson gets over the ball and wins a penalty for Edinburgh. That then leads to another penalty for Edinburgh further up the field. Healy squares us up from the tee, 19-all. Straight from the restart though, Munster win a penalty. Good contributions from 2 of the subs again. Ahern is on now as well, and Snyman was involved. They kick to the corner, but it goes a little bit awry in the line out, and there's some afters as well between Snyman and Healy. Snyman kind of a bit of a late hit on Healy after he kicked clear, but referee said he was committed to the tackle. Then we have a bit of handbags, people getting involved, and it leads actually to a Munster penalty because Mata dived in and escalated the situation. Scannell taps, but he gets halted short of the line, recycled quickly, and then the man you would want to have the ball in this situation, Gavin Coombs, he gets over to score the bonus point try. It's converted for 26 points to 19. And Mata had a great game, but that was one contribution that he'd like to take back, I think. From here then, O'Donoghue is offside after a Van der Merwe run that gave Edinburgh a bit of a spark. I thought Van der Merwe was kind of a weird one with him tonight that, when they got the ball to him, he looked dangerous, but they very rarely actually got the ball to him any kind of space at all. And, it feels like Edinburgh's attack tonight, at least, wasn't geared towards actually doing that. But when he did get the ball, he looked like he could pick his time to attack the line. Sometimes he was doing kind of, classic thing that we see Pinot do a lot, which is kind of running across the front of the defense looking for a gap as well. And that shows you he's feeling confident with ball in hand. But again, we didn't see enough of him from Edinburgh point of view really to have as much of an impact as a player of his quality can have on a game like this. Edinburgh, though, from that offside, they kicked the penalty to the corner, secure at the back of the line-out, but Munster managed to sack them all. They then clear it after the ball goes loose. I'm sure there was some dark arts involved in there. WP Nell then goes off to a standing ovation after 200 appearances for his club in what could very well be his last home appearance, depending on what happens if Edinburgh make the playoffs, and then what happens in the playoffs. But likely it was his last appearance at the Hive, and also that of Mata as well. But Nell, to make 200 odd or 200 appearances for your team is just an amazing achievement, I think, in especially in an age now where test players like him aren't going to be playing week in, week out, because they've got to be managed to make sure that they are available for the test selection as well. So to be able to manage that consistently over that many years is just brilliant from him. And again, I thought he had a decent game tonight. Edinburgh then come again. Conor Murray playing on the wing now because Nankerville had to go off injured. I think maybe something to do with his ankle. But Murray makes a mess of a kick, and that gives Edinburgh that chance to attack from a decent position. Velicott then tries to play for a penalty. One of these ones where he passes the ball directly into a player that he feels is interfering. Pass it into John Ryan, but the referee, what's his name? Netchi, I think, right? He calls play on. Munster turn the ball over. They clear it. Then he tells Velicott, don't try and buy a penalty by doing that. And, he'd actually told, I think he told, was it Casey at the same thing in the first half when Casey was trying to do something similar, like Casey did one of these ones where he was, kind of play acting as if he couldn't get the ball out because somebody was preventing it, and there was a player kind of lying in the way, etc. And he got told the same thing as well. So, signs are there that the referee wasn't going to give that. But Edinburgh then back again after a good carry from Mata. Bennett actually looked like he was certain to go in to score, but then Crowley gets back to prevent that. Edinburgh recycle the ball, and the ball seems to go forward. We have a Timo review. Conor Murray has knocked the ball out of, was it Velicott was on at that stage, or was it, I'm trying to remember, I think it might have been Velicott, but it was out of the nine's hand anyway. So he goes to the bin, rightly so, because he's basically lying on top of the ruck and then stuck a hand out and played the ball. We then have Timo review just to check whether there was a try scored or not, but we can see that Edinburgh actually knocked the ball on. So Edinburgh opt for a scrum from the penalty to tie in those Munster forwards. We have a couple of resets. Then Mata goes for the line. He's stopped, and then Venter goes over, but we need the Timo to tell us if he's actually got the ball down. And we have it's one of these ones where you got to find the perfect angle, because the referee can't see whether he's got the ball down, and he's asked the Timo to find it. And sometimes bodies, legs, whatever get in the way, and he can't quite get the angle. So Timo was looking at a number of different angles. We see an angle where definitely the ball has been grounded, because there was a possibility that maybe a hurler got an arm in under the ball and prevented that, but we can see they've definitely grounded the ball. Now we need to see, is that over the line or not? So going through all these different angles, and it's really hard to tell whether they're over the line, because we're seeing lots of kind of images where the ball is obscured and we can't tell where it is in relation to the line. But on the very last angle that they find, there's a couple of frames that show that the ball has definitely been grounded on the line, or at least on or over the line at this point. And you have to commend the TMO for finding the angle for that, and also being able to spot it, because I'm watching the replay. I'm looking at it. I know my eyesight isn't great, but I'm looking at it going, where even is the ball? But once they kind of show it a second, I would go, oh yeah, I can just about glimpse it there. And again, just fantastic work from the TMO. They get a lot of stick over stuff, but to be able to spot that as quickly as he did, and finding the right angle for it as well, making sure that it was, I think it was always an instinctive thing where he said, this is the angle, I think this is the angle, and then they look at it and then you see that he's right for it. So excellent work for him. So that gets converted then as well, and we're at tied up all over again. It's 26 points each. Munster then come attacking. Edinburgh not rolling. It's a penalty for Munster, and that came on the back of as well some decent work in the maul from Munster that gave them to go forward. Crowley lands the penalty. It's 29 points to 26. Munster edge back ahead. Jamie Ritchie then, shortly after he gets over the ball, wins a penalty for Edinburgh. There's a chance now to level us up again, but they decide they're going to go to the corner, and they're after that win. As I said, it felt like with Edinburgh that it was all about the win. That they weren't interested in getting a draw, or maybe drawing and then having to come again to get another score. They felt like this is their chance to do it. Murray is still off the field, so they got an extra man. So if this goes right, maybe they're in for a score that could give them enough of an edge that Munster can come back. But line out misfires. Ryan collects the ball. Munster kick it clear, and then all the little things start going Munster's way. They put pressure on and up and under, and force a knock on. And now Murray is back on the field, so that man advantage is now gone for Edinburgh. And Munster go up the line from a penalty, and now they're looking to get another score to secure the win. The line out for them doesn't go to plan again, but crucially for them, they actually retain possession. Sebastian gets pinged for kicking the ball out of the ruck. Munster then, they're now not interested in 3 points themselves either. They kick to the corner. They know if they can keep the ball down here, even if they don't score, it's going to be really hard for Edinburgh to score a winner. Munster, they're penning away at the Edinburgh line, but Edinburgh are doing pretty well actually, keeping them out and sometimes driving them back a few meters as well. Edinburgh then managed to turn the ball over. They then try to run it from behind their own line, but there's a pass to Van der Merwe, but it's too high, and a Munster player knocks on in goal. So Edinburgh now restarting with a goal line dropout. Munster collect that, and Casey gets the ball off the park. Final score is 29 points to 26. A really hard fought win for Munster there. We're going to have a look at the stats. There is, as always, a little bit of caveat with stats from either this competition or even the Champions Cup as well, because the for whatever reason the stats don't ever seem to be properly updated after the games, and some stats never get updated for whatever reason. But let's see what we have here. So it looks like a lot of the stats look decent at least, which is a good start. So going to start with attack, tries. It says 1 for Edinburgh, but they definitely got 2. Yeah. So again, stats a bit off. So 2 tries for Edinburgh and 4 for Munster. Possession 47 to 53. So Munster having a little bit more of the ball. Clean breaks though, just 1 for Edinburgh and 6 for Munster. You know, as I said, Edinburgh, it felt like they didn't get their danger men, especially Van der Merwe, into those spaces and to create those breaks as well. And you can see that coming out in the end there. And also, we look at defenders beaten 19 to 21. It was very close, but you know, when a team is beating 19 defenders and not making very many clean breaks, you know, a couple of things. One is that they're probably, you know, beating the players more going sideways than forwards. And the second thing is that the scramble from the opposition is too good for them to be able to actually turn that defender beaten into a break as well. So, you know, Edinburgh maybe need to work a little bit more on that, but you got to, again, give credit to the defense when they can do that as well, kind of limited to just 1 break in the game. Offloads then, 6 for Edinburgh and 8 for Munster. Onto defence territory, 46 to 54. So again, Munster playing more of the game in Edinburgh's half, and you know, towards the end there as well, that really helped them out. You know, I think it would have been a different story if Edinburgh had it been in Munster's half. There's always that, you know, possibility of a penalty, allowing them to either kick for the draw or to go to the corner as well. Number of tackles then, 184 for Edinburgh, 132 for Munster. Missed tackles 21 to 19. So tackle success 90% for Edinburgh, which is absolutely excellent, and 87 for Munster, which is around about a pass mark, you would say, at URC level. Turnover was 1 then, massive 10 for Edinburgh and 4 for Munster. So Edinburgh turning that ball over a lot, but you know, they couldn't manufacture in those turnovers a chance to really catch that Munster defence on the hop. So, you know, again, you got to give credit to Munster for the way they reset when they did get turned over. But it shows that, you know, Edinburgh real threat at the breakdown. So if they can get into those playoffs, that's, you know, teams have to watch out for that as well, is that they've got so many threats at that breakdown. Onto then kicking. So let's see if there's any decent stats in here. Kicks retained 9 for Edinburgh and 3 for Munster. I thought Edinburgh definitely had the better of the two teams in terms of the way they manage their kicks. They competed really well, and they had this kind of, you know, kind of dual approach. You know, either they try and win the ball cleanly, as they did on a number of occasions, or the likes of Richie would be up there and try and slap it back on their own side, you know, knowing that more than likely it's going to fall to one of his own players. And then, you know, with that as well, going up like that, trying to make it messy for Munster. I thought Edinburgh did it much better than Munster, but Munster in the second half, at crucial times as well, they made it count for themselves. Onto penalties then. So penalties conceded 7 for Edinburgh and 9 for Munster. So most teams try to keep it into single figures. Edinburgh getting the better of the penalty count. And you could see that as well in the scoreboard. Like, a lot of their scores came from those penalties. And maybe they would have been better advised as well when it got tight there towards the end to continue to do that. Continue to keep, you know, slot the penalties over and just back yourself to maybe, you know, create another opportunity as well, because they would have gone into those final couple of minutes at 29 all with then, you know, the chance to you know, either manufacture an opportunity themselves to win the game, or at least force Munster to have to create another opportunity for them to win the game. In terms of individual players then, you know, Frisch got 2 tries. Again, he's going to be a huge loss to them. Successful carries, Mata for Edinburgh, huge loss for them when he leaves. Coombs, 8 carries for Munster, and he really has, like, he went off the boil there, for a while, but this season now he's come back again, and we're seeing him back towards his best as well. Clean breaks, 2 for Jack Crowley. Defenders beaten then. Van der Merwe with 6. Again, he had some really good moments in the game, like beat 6 defenders, but still only 1 clean break, and it was from him, but still no real impact on the scoreboard from it. Crowley then with 4 defenders beaten for Munster. In terms of meters made then, Hewson with 31 for Edinburgh, and Rory Scannell, who come on initially as an HIA replacement, with 74 for Munster. So really good impact from him. Offloads then, Hewson with 2 and Crowley with 2 as well. Number of tackles, Gilchrist with 23 is a massive shift for Edinburgh. Niall Scannell with 17 for Munster. And then turnovers 1, Pierre Schumann 2 for them, and Gavin Coombs, he doesn't just carry the ball and score tries, he's also a threat to breakdown, 2 for him as well. So, Edinburgh lost the game, but there was a lot of really good performers on their side as well. And because of that, the Munster players had to step it up, and a lot of them did perform. I thought the back row went really well for them. And, obviously Crowley at 10 as well. And, the midfield partnership was doing well until, Nankivell had to go off really. But yeah, there was a lot of decent performers I felt on both sides. So let's talk about then just quickly about each team. So Edinburgh, I felt they did the right thing in that first half. They built the score. They were taking their points when they were on offer. They did get to try when Murray went to the bin, but they then, that got them level, but they were actually behind by the time Murray came back onto the field. And it felt like Munster won the yellow card period, despite it actually being 7-3 to Edinburgh. I think it's just a psychological thing of, yellow card is over and Munster are still in the lead. Edinburgh, they targeted 5 wins from 5 to finish the regular season. They were on course for that before this game. Now, obviously, that's not possible, but they've got to go to Benetton. They need a win there, and they've got to hope for results to go their way. But whether they make the playoffs or not this year, has to be said that the way they've finished this season this year compared to last year, where they just fell away and weren't really in contention, this year there's more fight in the team. That's great to see, and they could still make it to those playoffs, so they can be proud, I think, of their efforts in kind of the closing rounds of the season. For Munster, they had to dig in to get back into the game. Frisch was outstanding in the first half, and his tries kept them in touch. Crowley ran the show so well from 10, and they were able to see the game out close to the Edinburgh line, which again was crucial, I think, for them. They're now top of the league, and they've thrown down the gauntlet to Glasgow and Leinster.